Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes team up to take on the Dark Vampire Lord in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Bride of Dracula in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. When you see an image on a book cover, it just isn't a pretty picture. It tells a story. And it's that story in that image that gets people's attention. And that story can mean the difference between that book being picked up by readers, that book getting a sale, or just being passed over by a potential reader. Now, in order to create that image for that cover, a publisher like myself has to develop a concept image that tells the entire story of that novel in one single picture. And that picture can be based on something that happens in the story, or it can be an idea of something related to the story, or it can be an abstract concept that makes you think about the title and make you think about picking that book up. But it has to be something that gives a reader a sense of what's going on in that book and makes them care enough to pick it up. Now, when I usually create a cover, some cases, I usually take a scene from one part of the story and try to turn that scene into one image. And I usually try to find a scene in the book that I believe sums up the entire story in a singular image. And sometimes I'll take a scene that's from the beginning of the story, or I'll take a scene from the middle of the book. And sometimes I'll just create something related to the book's theme. Now, in order to create these concept images, I have to sketch out a picture, and then after that, if I'm working with an artist like I did with Bill Walker on the Isis Bride of Dracula cover or other Isis series books, I'll create a storyboard for the artist to work with. And as part of the storyboard, what I will do is I will create an image and I will write out what the concept is. Because in order to tell the story for the picture, you have to write what you want the artist to render in that picture. You have to give them an idea of what you want the characters to look like, the composition of the characters, and what they're dressed in, and what their proportions are. So the artist has an idea of what these characters look like and how the story will be told. So in order to create the picture for the cover, the writer has to write out what the story is going to be on the cover. And usually when I'm designing a cover story, I usually have to write and draw things out. And usually I will sketch things out in a concept sketch, and then I will then write it out in words so that the artist has something to work with. Moreover, I will create model sheets of what the characters look like so that the artist has something to work with and understand, again, what the proportions of the character are, what their height is, what their weight is, what they're wearing, what type of clothing, what their clothing looks like, and gives them a consensus of what the character looks like. And then after that, I will leave some notes there that tells them something a bit about the character and who they are. So there's a story there to be told about that character's image for that book. But when I'm writing those type of notes, it's just basic, simple instructions, and I try not to put too much in there, because if you put too many details, then it becomes too much for the artist to work with. You just want to have a couple of basic statements and a couple of model sheets, and usually the artist will take it from there, because when it comes down to working with artists, they have to put some of them into it too, because this is a team process. This is just not an individual process creating a cover story, because the artist is taking the characters and designs that you have, and they're going to interpret it based on what you present to them, and that final image is going to tell the story what the book is going to be about. Now, an example that I'm going to present to you regarding this is the cover concept for my upcoming book, The Legendary Mad Matilda. Now, The Legendary Mad Matilda, I wanted to have a concept for the cover image which defines a scene that is in the early part of the book where the Mad Matilda or Matilda Crowley character is arrested after things happen at one of her parties. And in this image, it's supposed to represent the mugshot that she takes when she's arrested. Now, with this image, I wanted to create the concept of this Matilda character who has been arrested. She's taking her mugshot, and I wanted to put a bit of an artsy spin on it so that people could see the goth theme related to the character. And with this image, I wanted people to see this Mad Matilda who has been arrested and is taking her mugshot, but she is supposed to be holding the card that says your arrest number and all of your information, and that's supposed to feature the title of the book. And behind her, instead of the lines for the height of an individual, I wanted to continue on with the goth theme, and I wanted to create some black and white stripes that were reminiscent of the ones that Tim Burton uses in many of his films like Batman Returns and Beetlejuice. So I wanted to put an artsy take on a mugshot for this cover for the legendary Mad Matilda. And that's what I did with the concept image for the cover. I wanted the concept to be a bit of an artistic take with a goth theme as related to a mugshot. And with that cover concept there, I also wanted to create a model sheet. And I wanted to create the model sheet for the Mad Matilda character, even though the character is being shown as a 3/4 figure on the cover. What I wanted the model sheet to do was give the artist a idea of what this character looks like. Again, their height, their proportions, and what their outfit looks like, so they have some notes on how the outfit will look or how the design will look. So when they're drawing the 3/4 figure, they have a sense of the depth of the character, the height, and all these things. And when they focus it with the background, they have a sense of how this character is going to stand, how their body language is going to be, and that's all placed within the model sheet and the storyboard. Now, the storyboard I usually place under the cover concept, and all of these notes are what a publisher gives to a cover artist when they're designing covers. Because whenever I would contact somebody like Bill Walker to design a cover for an ISIS series book, I would just give them some basic notes, and then they would go from there in telling the story that I would want for the cover. Because when it comes down to covers, they have to tell a story of what's going on in between the pages of the book, and it's that story, again, that can mean the difference between a reader picking up a book and taking a look inside, buying a book, or just passing by a book. So in order for a book to get readers' attention, it has to tell as great a story on the outside as the story is told on the inside. Now, I'd love to get the legendary Mad Matilda out to readers. However, I have been having trouble finding full-time work, so I haven't been able to get the money to pay for the cover for the legendary Mad Matilda. And I would love to have an artist render this concept professionally. And in order for me to do that, I need donations from people and to pay an artist to design this cover. And if you could donate $1 or more to my Patreon, it would help me get this book to the marketplace faster and in a sooner rather than later, because I really want to get this book out, and I want readers to see the Spinsterella trilogy completed, because people have enjoyed the Spinsterella in 2015 and they enjoyed Spellbound in 2016, and I want to get the final part of the Spinsterella trilogy out by 2017. So I really hope people will donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try the other 2 books in the Spinsterella trilogy, such as Spinsterella and Spellbound, or you want to try Isis, Bride of Dracula, or some Isis series books, you can click the link to the Amazon.com, and it'll take you on the Amazon.com in the description box, and it'll take you there, and you'll be able to see all the books on the SJS Direct imprint.